so I'm just going to go through a few points in terms of the developing your CV, and just also some tips on giving you some personal focus, some framing, and some sort of avenues for you to explore in terms of the direction of your CV and how you should personalize it. So, in terms of personal focus, I think it's always good to do a sort of professional audit, professional personal audit, and to understand what your personal vision or focus is. Um, you might have certain aspirations. You might want to work in certain sectors because for example, you specifically want to work in a human rights element, etc. And then also understanding what are the key values that matter to you as well. Perhaps this is from previous experience, like working in a team, and you value teamwork, and you value specific types of organizations that have specific like fundamental values as well, and you want to align your values to those, for example, like the humanitarian sector. And then it's also good to sort of horizon scan, as it's referred to in the sector, to look maybe at 3 year, 5 year, 10 year plan to consider what the steps might be to get to where you would like to go. Um, and so, for example, if you would like to be like the director or CEO of Refugee Council, you might, if you apply for the job tomorrow, you might not get it, but it's good to have that kind of ambition and think, okay, well, year one, year two, I need to get a certain amount of skills. Maybe I need to requalify in this, and then get maybe between year two and three, I need to get project management, like Prince 2 qualification, um, etc. Um, sorry, could we go back to the previous slide? Slide 4, I think it was. Um, so yeah, so basically what I was saying is that breaking it up into manageable chunks and milestones is a very good way to look at it, because where you want to be ultimately, that'll be the pathway there. Um, sorry. Okay, there we go. um, yeah. So basically, having a sort of 10 year plan where you want to be. This really emphasize. Sorry, there's an echo now. I don't know if someone's got the mic on. Yeah. Sorry. Let me just gather my thoughts again. Yeah. So goals and milestones. What you want to achieve in the next 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, up to 10 years, and longer. And what that does is it does help you focus, and especially if you have if you want to be like team leader, if you want to be director, or if you want to specialize, perhaps going into like research or fundraising within the refugee sector, it's really good to have that plan, because that means that when you do apply for jobs, you're not just applying for everything and anything. You've got a clear aim in mind. Um, in terms of self awareness, it's also good to do a self audit. What strengths do you have? To understand what strengths you have and what you think you have, you might be good at communication. You might be good at fundraising or coordination, organization, based on your previous roles in your home country, or work that you've done here. But it's also good to have like maybe not a critical friend, but a supportive friend, in the context of somebody that will kind of honestly give you your strengths, and not weaknesses, but development points, I'd call it. So they might say, well, actually, you're really good at, although you're very good at coordination, you're very good at also the logistical side. Getting quotes, organizing, all the logistics for events. So it's worth getting a trusted individual, profession in the professional context to perhaps give you an audit of what they see as your key skills as well. And then also what knowledge you have. Don't forget the knowledge that you have from where from back home, or knowledge you've picked up here, any courses you've done. Um, these all do count to like your CV and um, your sort of greater understanding what skills you have. And then based on areas that you would like to improve upon, perhaps once you know, okay, well, I want to be a data scientist. I've done the policy work. I've done some Excel work. I've done, I've done the networking report launch, but I haven't done, the data analysis side. So maybe that's a point where you're like, okay, maybe I can do a course at the community college on data analytics, on like Python or R, statistical data, something like this. So it's really good to help you focus as well, because there are so many opportunities around of what you can specifically do. It's almost overwhelming. You could go down 7 different pathways. Um, and also trying to understand the sector as well. Where do you think there are opportunities for you? This is a good point for like networking, um, in order to and for also people to understand what your gaps might be as well. But understanding what the gaps in the sector are, um, and what other people think that could be a good avenue, a good step to then get another step um, into the workplace. So having that knowledge as well, and then that's speaking with trusted professionals in the sector. Um, and yeah, if we go to the next slide, and identifying your strengths. This is a good template to use. It keeps it very simple. So dates, first experiences, skills you had, impact you made. It's always good to show what impact you had. I have found my own experience in the past of saying, like, as a team, we accomplished this, we did that. But when you're applying for a job and it's your name on the CV, you really want to put what skills you had, what impact you made. For example, you could say, I coordinated a conference that had 50 individuals from various different sectors, and report came out of that, and the policy was changed. So yeah, it's good to keep tabs of that, and sometimes you have to, you might be very busy accomplishing things and not have the time to sort of pause and sit still and note all these things down. Um, and yeah, and if we go to the next one, and this is a way of identifying your strengths as well, based on the previous slide. So if we see here, sort of first experience, volunteer charity, skills you had, empathy, active listening, awareness of cultural differences. These are all very valuable skills, especially in this sector. And as we've seen, like here it says, impact you made, organize social activities for 100 plus refugees to foster inclusion. Um, and that's quite powerful impact you've made. It's worth putting there. You might have not just organized something, you might have also have collected, like, for example, collecting feedback on the day as well. That's data collection. So there's some things you might refer back to and think, oh, actually, I didn't realize that had a name, or that had a specific name. So collecting feedback on some of the social activities, that's data collection, and if that goes into a report, etc. So you might need to reevaluate some of the um, s- uh, some of the names of the skills that you've had, and sort of go back and put a name to them. Um, and as we see within as Dateline 2024, 25, 26, see that the engagement has led to different responsibilities as well. So you have community engagement, project coordinator. Some of these are going more into management, and you see a management path. So and the thing about this is it can take. I'm not going to lie to you. It can take a while to get all that information together, written down, fed back. Um, and to put it in a CV. But once you have it, a lot of the hard work is done, because then when you do apply for jobs, you're just tweaking the CV in order to respond to the job description. So if the hard work's done, then you can just do the tweaks. Next one. And also, it's good to have a CV that does feel like you, and the one that you can adapt, like the master CV. Um, and this is a lot to do with the fact that when you do apply for jobs, people are going to look at. Yeah, it's good to build a generic CV that feels like you, because you need to be comfortable in when you if you go to interview, because you could be asked about it. And I think this is an important point to mention about the use of artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and I mean, there's a new one every day, it seems. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm sort of in the middle ground. It's useful to use, to perhaps uh, to adjust things. But also, what I would say is make sure you're comfortable being questioned on every point of it, because if it's like ChatGPT, it can hallucinate and start saying that you project manage like 20 portfolios and increased income by 200%. So yeah, you really need to check and refer back and feel comfortable being questioned on it. So just a note for AI there, that yes, it can be useful, but use it with caution and use it ethically as well, because you don't want to sort of say that you've accomplished all these things, and then they do a reference check and realize that it wasn't the case. So with caution, I'd say. And then just some quick pointers, like max 2 pages, with enough white space so the HR person can see it clearly. Putting name on top of both pages as well, especially if they print it out and they want to use pen and mark it and what have you, as part of their HR process. Um, and then things like home address, they don't need your full address, just either a postcode or a city, even, not even the postcode, is enough. And references, unless it's for a specific type of role, I think in academia, people tend to put their references as standard. It's not really needed at all, because you will be asked for that at some point during the process, if you go to the next stage and get a conditional offer. And yeah, as I said before, knowing everything in your CV and being comfortable with everything, because they will likely want to ask questions about it, whether it's for curiosity, or it's something that they specifically want to know, maybe want to test your technical knowledge on, etc. So be comfortable with what's on your CV. Um, and for each job, you need to emphasize the most relevant parts of your background. And for the specific role. So that's adapting the CV to the specific role. Um, and showcasing your achievements, your values, strengths, skills. So it's like it says here, it's not just what you have achieved, but how you've achieved it. And that can also spill over into the cover letter. You can expand on that in the cover letter as well. Um, and things like impact and achievements, I would put, for example, on a CV, like selected achievements at the top, so that you can kind of get the reader, the HR person, to be able to see quite quickly what your key achievements are, because they might have, especially in the day of AI where people are just doing lots of applications, they'll want to have see what the key achievements are, and especially if you've adapted that to the job description, then they'll be able to see those as kind of like headlines and go, okay, yeah, that looks really good. Um, yeah, yeah, and also look for the jargon in the job adverts as well. So if they use specific jargon, try to use it in the correct understanding of it within the cover letter and the CV. So if they say specific things like applications, sorry, if they use a specific word, try and reuse it again. And of course, use action verbs as well. That's important. Yep. And a suggested CV structure. So I'll just go through this quite quickly. It's so profile, brief introduction, who you are, what you've done and why, key achievements and career highlights. You don't want to go too much into that, just like three key bullet points. Professional work experience, set it out as title, organization, name, and dates. Also, if dates overlap, which I have on my CV, it's something you can mention in the cover letter, or be quite difficult to mention it in the CV, but that's something to consider. And in terms of what you put in work experience, summary sentences, what you're responsible for, um, the roles, but also a few achievements and voluntary experience as well. Um, and in terms of education and qualifications, um, most recent, relevant, and highest level. Um, I would say that as well. If for example, if you have a specific education, let's say you've done a PhD or you've done a dissertation, you can also put selected like articles at the bottom. If you have a link to it online, you can like put selected um, material as well under there. Or if you did a distinction level masters and you have it online, you can put that underneath as well. But that's sort of some extra points. Okay. And this is just an example of the sort of process you can go through when you are developing a CV. If you see the first draft might look like the before version where you've coordinated social media channels, published posts. But what you really want to do is use that as a base, but then really put some key examples and achievements in. So coordinate. So for this, for example, coordinated social media channels, you can use as a starter sentence, a root, and then say coordinated for social media channels, supporting outreach and engagement. If you have any analytics, so it reached most popular posts reached, had 15,000 impressions, this kind of thing. And yeah, just trying to put some facts and achievements to what you've done. Um, And as it says up there, the star model can be very useful to really tell a story on your CVs because it is an extension of your cover letter. They will refer back to both. So if you have both that are both quite comprehensive, it will really make a strong impression. Yep. And now to the quiz. So you're applying for a role that values commitment to refugee leadership and safeguarding with an understanding of the UK asylum and migration sector. Which of the following bullet points best shows impact rather than just listing a task? Answers, Anna, answers in the chat, or are we asking for hands?
I think chat would be the best and easiest considering our times, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, answers in the chat. Okay. And the answer is D. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well done, everyone. On to the next one. So here, you want your CV to stand out for a role that emphasizes clear communication, cultural sensitivity, and tangible results. Which of the following CV bullet points best demonstrates measurable impact? A, B, C, or D? If everybody could answer in the chat. Yep, so everybody is going with C. Yep, that's pretty much the answer. The key points being the putting a number where you have the number, so 50 plus refugee clients with 80% successfully enrolled in services within 3 months. That's a really good key statistic. Okay, if we go to the third question. Question 3. The role prioritizes safeguarding, awareness, and collaborative working. Which bullet point best shows both initiative and understanding of safeguarding responsibilities? A, B, C, or D? Answers in the chat, please. Yeah, so you're pretty much getting the point of putting quantifying it, putting numbers when you have the numbers, and putting the impact as well. So that's really great. Okay, and just in terms of safeguarding, I would say if you do reach interview, there's usually always a question on safeguarding. So it's good to be, I would say, as a general skill to have within the refugee sector is to have knowledge of safeguarding procedures, or if you have availability to do safeguarding training as well, because it's always a good key skill to have. Okay, I think now I will hand over.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joshua. And that was genuinely practical and very insightful. I'm sure that many of us will go back to our series with fresh eyes after that. So we will now move on to the second part of the session because strong CV is very important, but strong cover letter is not less important as well. So I will hand it over to Mishka to talk about cover letter. If you have, and then we have a Q&A session. So if you have questions about CV and cover letter, you can start putting them down, or you can put it on the chat as well. Thank you. Over to you, Mishka.
Great, thanks, Anna. Hi, all. Yes, nice to be here. Let's talk about cover letter. Like Anna said, it's equally important, same as the CV. So we will start. Next slide, please. So when we talk about cover letters, let's start with the fundamental but very important stuff. What is a cover letter? At the same time, why we need a cover letter? So why it is it, and also why it matters. So a cover letter introduces you to you as a candidate, and encourages the recruiter to read your CV. So we send a CV, but I would say how I basically see the cover letter is as something like an invitation, at the same time a opening window about you to the recruiter, so that they will also become interested in reading your CV as well. So in that sense, cover letter is also really crucial, same as the CV. It's your opportunity to show your enthusiasm for the course, prove you fit for this specific role, go beyond your CV to tell your story. And I mean, we will do some comparison between what's the difference between CV and cover letter, and then it will be I will explain what we mean by it goes beyond your CV to tell your story. And then also it demonstrate the knowledge of the charity, which is also really important, especially when we are talking about charity roles. And then why charity roles are different, this is also really important to know when you apply for any roles within the charity sector, especially refugee and migration charities. It's because charities look beyond skills alone. They want people who believe in the mission of the organization, who can do more with limited resources. It's because quite often charity sectors, organizations, especially I would say small to medium ones, operate with significant, I would say, lack of resources. At the same time, it can be a staff. So they would like someone who can do more with limited resources available, unlike big corporations, or I would say, yeah, corporate jobs. And then also understanding the communities they serve, especially if you are talking about refugees and migrants, and then show commitment to lived experience, at the same time commitment to the organization and also the work they do. Next slide, please. And when it comes to CV and cover letter, what goes where? Joshua gave really good, I would say, detailed explanation and description about CV. I'm just going to quickly summarize. So in your CV, you have the full employment history, you have education and qualifications, your key achievements with numbers, skills and competencies, voluntary experiences. This is really crucial, voluntary experience, especially if you have been navigating immigration and asylum system. Voluntary experience is some of the significant experience you bring before you have work experience. And CV can take maximum 2 pages in a concise format. So let's move on to the cover letter. In the cover letter, if you apply for a charity role, you have to mention or talk about why this charity and why this specific role. I think we decided to put this in these capital letters. It's because it's really important. And then your enthusiasm and motivation for this specific role, evidence you have researched the organization. This is really important because the people, the HR person or the recruitment team, whoever reading the cover letter, would want to see that you have researched the specific organization, such as what they do, etc. Narrative around Q experiences, your values alignment. This is really important because the organization would like to see that their values aligns with your own values. And then it's max 1 page. It can take a personal note tone compared to your CV. Next slide, please. Cover letter structure. Of course, I mean, the cover letters can take different structures, but we think this is a quite effective structure when we talk about the easiness for the HR people to grasp. And then also, yeah, I think this is an easy structure for you as well, because it should be easy for you as well when you're drafting the cover letter. So having a very strong opening paragraph, and also it has to be very clear, stating the role you are applying for, saying that I'm applying for this specific campaign's role within your organization. Start with the hook, your enthusiasm for the cause or relevant achievement. Show that you know the charity. I think I mentioned that before. It's really important to show that in the cover letter that you know the charity. And then you have a middle paragraph, which is, I would say, like the big chunky part of the cover letter. And then match your skills and experience to the job description, because in the job advert you will see they have a job description, and it's good to match your experience and skill to that specific job description. And then use specific examples and metrics. show impact, not just the task. And then you have research the charity, reference their specific programs, values, or recent campaigns. Let's say you are applying for a campaigns role within the charity. You can mention, as an example, I saw this campaign, or I saw in your website the campaign you have done. I really find it really impactful. At the same time, that's a brilliant campaign. So that shows that you have researched the charity at the same time the work they do. So in the idea, in essence, you need this letter should look like that it's a custom letter for this specific role for this specific charity that you cannot send to any other organization. And then you have a closing paragraph, summarize your fit, restate your enthusiasm, and invite them to read your CV. Close with the call to action. In this situation, I basically see inviting them to read your CV is also a call to action. Next slide, please. Using the STAR method. So let's talk about what this STAR method shall be. The STAR method simply, I would say, the letter stands for S for situation, T for task, A for action, and result. That make it STAR, which is easy to memorize as well. So when we talk about the situation, clearly express the skills and how you obtain those skills. Task is provide a specific example of how you utilize or develop this skill. And then action, what you did with that skill. And then the results, which is also really important. It's not just showing you did this, let's say, specific activity or campaign. It's also good to highlight the result or the impact of that. So let's talk about, let's take a hypothetical, I would say, example. This is an HR role. Someone has applied, or someone is applying, and they are preparing the cover letter. So this is the, I would say, specific paragraph they can put. I'm familiar with this HR policy, human resource policy, development, performance management, and recruiting, as I have hired, trained, and managed local and international staff at all levels. While at Rice NGO, I was responsible for the HR department consisting 50 employees and supervised a team of 9 that coordinated training and development, performance and recruitment. And also says I recently coordinated a successful local project management certification training program for 145 plus employees that saved around 200,000 for the organization. So this example covers, for me, I think everything. It's talk about the situation, it talks about the task, it talks about the action, and also very importantly, it talks about, I would say, what happened as a result. As an example, it's managed to save 200K. So that shows the impact as well. So easy to memorize, STAR, and then you have situation, task, action, and result. Next slide, please. Key tips for your charity cover letter. Get the structure right. I think we shared a sample structure. Keep it one page. Use clear paragraph with strong opening, evidence-based middle, and confident close. Research the charity. I mean, this is really important. I mentioned that many times over and over again. Name their programs, values, campaigns. Show how you their values align with your values. Make it clear this letter was written specifically for them, specifically for that role. Tailor it to the job description. So like I said, there will be job description. Mirror the language of that word. Address key requirements with specific examples from your experience. It can be work experience, voluntary experience. And then prove you are a great fit. Use STAR examples. Quantify impact. Show what you have achieved, not just what you did. And then be enthusiastic and committed. Charities want dedication because we are talking about mission and value driven organization. Explain why this cause matters to you personally. Let's say, as an example, especially if you have lived experience, mention that. It will also show that you have more credibility when it comes to the specific role that has, I would say, that needs that genuine enthusiasm and commitment. Next slide, please. Cover letter do's and don'ts. When it comes to do's, which is really important part, Address the hiring manager by name if it is possible, because sometimes you will see the name of the hiring manager, but sometimes you might not see. But if you know the hiring manager's name, if the job advert mentions that, it's good to address it to the hiring manager or any designated person. Show a specific knowledge of the charity's work, past and present. Use the job description's own language. Include one strong star example per letter. You don't have to mention, I would say, include too many examples, but include one of your strongest or maybe reason that you think most relevant for the role. And then keep it one page. Make sure you space the paragraph well spaced so that it's easy for the person to read. Proofread it carefully so that you will not have any mistakes such as typos, etc. And then what you don't do when you do a cover letter, draft your cover letter, don't copy your CV because they already have a CV. You need to tell a new story in a narrative basis. Don't use the same cover letter for every application. Like I said, people want to see that cover letter is specific to the charity, at the same time specific to the role. Don't start every sentence with I. Don't focus only on what the role gives you. You can focus on that, but not only on that. Don't include, I would say, personal information that's irrelevant to the role. Of course, you can highlight if you have lead experience, but make sure that's relevant to the specific role. And also make sure there's a purpose why you adding that, mentioning that lead experience or additional personal experience. And then don't forget to include a clear call to action, such as, inviting them to read your CV. Next slide, please. So we have the cover letter quiz. I think, let's follow the same approach like we did with Joshua. So we have this question. You are applying for a community outreach officer role at a refugee support charity that values lived experience, partnership working and measurable impact. So which cover letter opening do you think best demonstrate genuine fit for this role? You can put it on the chat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely, it looks like C because it has a strong, it covers basically quite a lot of elements that we mentioned about a good starting paragraph. So it's C. If you have finished, we can move on to the next question. Next slide, please. Yeah, again, you are applying for a caseworker role at a refugee and migration charity. The role requires knowledge of the asylum process, ability to build trust with clients from, I would say, background who have faced trauma, and strong advocacy skills. So which cover letter sentence best demonstrate relevant experience and genuine understanding of the role? Keep the answers coming. Yeah, again, I think even with this one, it's quite clearly it's C because it ticks all the boxes like we said for for a strong starting point. It talks about your personal experience as well, and not only that. Let's move on to the other one. So the final question is, you are applying for a policy and advocacy officer role. The charity website highlights their recent campaign on housing rights for people seeking asylum. What sentence in a cover letter best demonstrate that you have researched the organization? Okay. Any more answers? Yeah, so that's right. I think this one also, coincidentally, it's C. Maybe it's because C is for the correct answer. So, but it is also again for C. So it's some examples, to show that how you can make sure you tick important elements when it comes to a cover letter. So that marks the end of my section of the presentation. So I will pass on to Anna for Q&A section. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Mishka. That was really clear and practical guide, and STAR method is really particular, something is very popular and very important thing to consider. So we have 15 minutes left, and then it's important to move to the Q&A section. So as I mentioned, so we have a couple of them, I think, on the chat. So sadly, we will not be able to do the open microphones considering the limited time, but you could put the questions on the chat. So we have one question. The quizzes on CVs and cover letters seem to indicate that the longest responses are the strongest. If that is the case, oh, it just jumped a bit. If that's the case, how do we reconcile this with the expectation that a CV should be no longer than 2 pages and the cover letter no longer than 1 page? Yeah, that's quite a good question, because they are like, usually people are discouraged to have a really long CV. So, Josh, do you want to take this? And Mishka, if you want anything else from the cover letter perspective, please.
I think it's about being as concise as possible, or the best example that you can show in relation to the job description. So, if you can get in a longer answer that's more impactful than several several shorter ones or a very long one, that would be the best way. It's I mean, I think this is probably where you could possibly use AI to give you some suggestions of how to be more concise, or how to rephrase it, that could take out some of the irrelevant context. But I think it's one way you have to kind of play around to see. It doesn't mean strictly. I mean, two pages is ideal, but if it's 3 pages with just one like paragraph that's jumped onto the next bit, I don't think that's too bad either. But if it's like 3 pages of dense CV, I think that's where people will stop reading. I'm not sure that really answered the question, but I think it's probably having to go through several drafts and trying to match and get the most impactful answer as you can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Josh. And in general, there is not like a universal formula for CVs or cover letters, and everything is. But getting balance, obviously, it's really important. Thank you so much for that question and for the answer, Joshua. We have another one about the cover letter. When drafting a cover letter using the STAR method, it can be challenging to address every essential and desirable core requirement in a person's specification, especially if we want to use 1 or 2 examples and keep it on 1 page. What tips do you have for this?
Yeah, thanks. That's also, I would say, similar question like about the CV. So if you use STAR method, I think if you have one solid example that covers all the elements of STAR, I think it's good to limit to one solid example. Like I said, when it comes to cover letter, there's no universal formula, even though we recommend it to have. Let's say if you jump a couple of lines, more than 1 page, I think that is fine. But at the end of the day, I think it's basically about you show in the cover letter that you not at least, I think you will you are suited, or you will take the most relevant job specification, at the same time role specification, because some we have come across with some job roles has like, it says like 25 specification, right? It says this. You might not have to show everything, because we also have the interview. So as long as you cover the most important core specification that they have, because sometimes they can have desirable specification or experience that they are looking for, but you can mention desirable. I'm not saying you need to ignore that, because sometimes lived experience is something like a desirable experience people ask for. So you basically take one solid example, put it as one example that covers, I would say, the STAR method. I think that should be fine, rather than going for more than one, if you are especially having an issue with the space.
Thank you, Mishka. I think there is sorry that if I won't be able to read all of them, but there is quite interesting question which comes up in mentoring quite often as well. I want to ask, as a refugee, who came to week safety in the to SIG safety, I guess, in the UK, should I include my work experiences back home, even when I will find it difficult getting references from them? And is volunteering part of work experience important? Thank you.
Yeah, I think I will probably start with the volunteering because it's really important that you highlight your voluntary experience. Quite a lot of charity organizations now give quite a lot of priority, I would say equal priority in a way for voluntary experience because that's the reality, right? For people seeking asylum, people who have been in the system, their first experience is volunteering experience because we are not allowed to work.
Yeah, it's
Find
good
it
to
difficult to collect references from back home, but definitely I would say you will have transferable skills at the same time experience to bring into this role even though you have done it in your home country.
Great. Thank you, Mishka. I also want to answer maybe this one, that if I have a CV already in place and would like to be assisted with this, was it possible for any of you to check it out and send where I should fix? So it's not necessarily that it could be, well, the simple answer is absolutely yes, but it's not necessarily it will be Joshua or Mishka doing it, but you can, if you want to help with your CV, you can absolutely contact us at EB Employment Initiative and request that support with your CV or cover letter. We will send the links at the like later parts, like in of the session. So you can absolutely do that, and one of our volunteer mentors will be matched with you. Josh, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something I put in the chat, but obviously everybody's written quite a lot of questions. But one additional tip I would use for both cover letter and more for cover letter is reading the annual reports that the charities have to do. They're usually on the charities charity commission website, or they have to put it on their website as well. And this is a really good resource in order to understand either the whole charity or the specific department you're applying to. Because in the annual reports, they have to show like financial expenditure, but also key milestones, key achievements, key how many people they've worked with. So that can give you a really good understanding of the department and even the team you might be applying to, and you can reference that in your cover letter, depending on what the fact is. But for example, you could put in reference to your annual report where these key things were achieved. I have also experience in achieving, or I have experience in working in this specific field as well. Or that's probably not a great example, but yeah, I would look at the annual reports. They're usually hidden away and about a year out of date, but definitely a top.
Thank you so much, Josh. I will ask two questions at the same time, maybe to save some time. So, number one is that how much does the educational background play a role in the hiring process in the third sector? Is extensive experience alone sufficient? It does not appear to be in my experience so far. And we also have the question about the AI, which is very important, and it comes up quite often. How do you think AI can help when it comes to CVs and cover letters? From your experience, in which areas do you feel it helps the most? For example, identify key skills, researching in general, working with AI.
Yeah, I will start with the question. I think first of all, it's good for you to read. Some organizations now they have a policy of including a specific paragraph or information about using AI in an ethical way in the job advert. So it's good to start by reading if they have something like that on the website. But I think at the end of the day, AI is little becoming something people quite often use. The most important thing is you just don't go to AI and say, okay, create me a CV for this specific role without having, I would say, your input. At the same time, create something out of nothing. So then it will not be your CV. So AI can help you to enhance, at the same time give it a start to your CV, but it cannot replace basically what you I would say can create from your knowledge, because at the end of the day you are the person. So you can, I would say, read the organization or information or advice around that, but at the same time you can utilize it to enhance it. The other question
Maybe
about,
if Josh wants
yes,
to step in because we don't want to take advantage
yeah.
of being together. Josh,
Um,
education question. how important it is that background, like educational background for third sector roles. And also I will ask the second question, if you don't mind. It's very important one as well. How about the transitioning from different, for example, customer facing work to the refugee charity work? How does that work? Because a person has, how do I present entrepreneurship experience from Nigeria on a UK CV, for example, so that the employers see it's still relevant in its professional experience, even though that they might not have this UK charity sector experience. So one is about the importance of education background, and also the second about transitioning process from one to a different sector.
Yeah, I would say in terms of the educational background role, I think it does depend on the context of the job description. But it'll either signal sort of highly specialized skills if it's like master's or PhD level. But for example, if you've done if you've done a bachelor's degree in English, that will also show you level of English as well. So it's an additionality and it will augment it. Your CV and your application, but it's probably the transferable skills from there that are the key things, especially if you've become very specialized in a particular area. That's where the self audit is important, to come back and see which skills are transferable from previous education.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. One final question, and then we will do the next steps. So I'm often told, which is very important one, that employers, recruiters don't like to see gaps in employment, which is quite inevitable in the UK while you are in the asylum system. So some of the gaps have been simply that I could not find a job. How do we address that?
Yeah, I think reality is people will have gaps in their CVs for different reasons. So I think it's good to be clear saying that, okay, for this specific reason, I think in charity sector, I assume there will be more understanding why people, especially people with lived experience, might have gaps. And at the same time, gap can be from the specific home country while they're in the UK. Mention that, but also give an example, I would say explanation why it's this, you have this gap. I mean, if you could not find employment, it can be due to significant amount, lots of reasons, at the same time challenges while you were navigating. But I think that's better understood in the charity sector as far as I'm aware, compared to the outside the charity sector, especially in migration and refugee charities.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really conscious of the time that we need to finish in 2 minutes because we promised that. So I'm sorry that we did not take, but we will take all these questions from the chat, and also we will include it in our, when we are constantly updating our resources on the website. You can check on them, and also that mainly you can request the support individually from on our website and meet volunteer mentors yourself. So before we close, we have a small but very important ask. We are growing our initiative, as you know, and in your feedback genuinely is very, very important. So we want to share it. Please just take 2 minutes to scan the QR code. Also, let us also put on the chat if it's more accessible, so that to share your thoughts, what you found helpful, what would you like to hear you more, anything else that you would like us to know or change. So it will be really, really important for us to know that, and we will appreciate your feedback. Also, I want to I also to mention that share a couple of important useful links from initiative, and remind you about our services. We have a job board where we list our roles, relevant updated roles about in the jobs for experts by experience. You can also request one-to-one mentoring support through our website. We have employability resources. This will go also as a resource and information about opportunities. And also, you can sign up to stay connected with us and hear about future webinars and also newsletters, and just to stay connected. So we will also, can we also put the links of the from the our job board and others, so you can also access them on the chat. As a final point, is that first of all, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you so much, Mishka and Joshua, for your time and your expertise. And before we go, here are 5 next steps that we have now. We should have on the screen. As a takeaway from this, is it number 1, we will review your CV using today's tips. Number 2, draft a cover letter for a role that you want to apply. And number 3, use the STAR method, which we discussed today, for a role you want. And also you use a request mentoring support at EB Employment Initiative. You're more than welcome to do that. And also follow us and sign up for updates on future webinars. Following the webinar, like I mentioned earlier, you will receive the email with the recorded webinar, and also it will also be uploaded on our website. We will be back with more sessions. This is only our first one very soon, and that's why it's important for you to take part in the survey, because we have questions about some webinar ideas there as well. And in the meantime, we wish you a very good day ahead and a happy lunchtime. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.